Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the latest in the series of webinars from UKBIC. This week's presentation is going to concentrate on the flexible pilot line. I'm Andrew Britton. I will be hosting the event. My colleague, Adam Dixon, who is our head of flexible pilot line, will give the bulk of the presentation. A few points to note. That we will be, if you could ask questions through the question and answer bar. We'll get through as many questions as we can, and we will answer as many as we can on the day. But if you want to contact us after the event, please contact the sales or info lines at UKBIC. Or if you're a potential supplier to UKBIC, please use the suppliers at ukbic.co.uk section website or email address. A copy of the slides and the recording of the presentation will be available via the website from next Monday, the 28th of July. As is norm, we will run the presentation in two parts. I will give a brief introduction to UKBIC, and then I'll hand over to Adam, who will do the presentation on the flexible pilot line and how we are bringing that to market. So without further ado, I will commence with the introduction. So some of you may have heard a few of these webinars before, and we'll be looking at this slide and seeing something that you've seen before, but actually things are changing at UKBIC. Previously on this slide, you will have seen references to the Faraday Battery Challenge. That has now changed, and we are now run under the auspices of the Battery Innovation Programme. Now, in the latest spending review, the Battery Innovation Programme was given an additional £452 million of funding to support the battery industry going forward. And that is money that will be available between 2025 and 2030. The structure will remain relatively the same. So we will have the Faraday Institution, we will have the collaborative R&D running competitions, and UKBIC will be the scale-up facility within the Battery Innovation Programme going forward. So no major changes to the structure, but the organisation and the amount of funding has had significant changes over the last 3 to 4 months. So, where were we and where are we going? So, historically, the battery industry or the Battery Innovation Programme has ground scale at the Faraday Institution stage, which is really looking at early stage materials research and advanced materials, what is going to come with beyond lithium ion, proving out battery materials and components, really early stage stuff. And then we move on to the kilogram scale, which is really looking at university scale pilot lines, and looking at early stage product development, starting to develop individual cell manufacturing at very low scale, and doing a lot of the product design there. Now, historically, we then jumped to what we now call the industrial scale-up line. This was the next part of the journey for organizations looking to industrialize and scale up battery technologies. The industrial scale-up line is a gigascale line operating with gigascale type equipment that you would find in any gigafactory anytime, anywhere in the world, operating with the same equipment, the same scale, the same amount of material requirements. And it is there to help people de-risk their product and commercial investment before moving to the kiloton scale. But the ISL had a problem in that quite a few of the customers who were coming to us found out very shortly after arriving that they weren't quite ready to be producing batteries at that scale. Something was needed to assist the journey from kilogram to ISL. And that facility is being installed and commissioned right now, and it's the subject of this webinar, and that's the flexible pilot line. So people in future will go from kilogram at university pilot line through the flexible pilot line to the industrial scale-up line, and then they will be ready to move out into their own gigafactories. So at UKBIC, we have a full-scale electrode line, cell assembly, formation agent test, and module and pack. Many of you will have seen this, heard it. It's been a constant through the history of UKBIC over the last 5 years. We are a UK manufacturing and research facility. We're based in the Midlands, in the heart of the UK, and in the heart of the industrial sector and industrial manufacturing in the UK. Now, and we are open to all organisations who are looking to scale technology. And another thing that's changed really over the last couple of years is that we are now a truly global operation. So it doesn't matter where you are, if we can help you to scale up your manufacturing, we are here to help you. And we can give you access to gigascale equipment, and we can provide trials and validation at industrial scale with speed and quality. Now, one of the things that's always made UKBIC unique is that we do not want to own any industrial property. So you will come to us with your IP, and we will scale that up, and we will jointly develop intellectual property between us. But at the end of the project, we will bundle all of that intellectual property up, and we will return it to you. So there is no question of license fees, royalty agreements, or anything like that. Now, what I always like to say about UKBIC is that we are a learning facility. So we don't really want to make products with people, for people. We want to make products with people. So we encourage our customers to work alongside us on the line, be fully involved in the process. And that is something that makes UKBIC very unique. So, talk a little bit about the industrial scale-up line. As I mentioned, it's a volume scale battery manufacturing facility. Same equipment that you will find in gigafactories around the globe, but we don't necessarily have to treat it as an end-to-end facility. It is a modular facility, so customers can come to use us at any part in the process. So we've had customers who've come to use our electrode line. We've had people who've brought powders and just want us to make a slurry for them. We've had people who've brought a slurry who want us to coat it for them. We've had customers who've brought electrode to us and who've wanted us to assemble cells. And all of that is absolutely fine. So you can pick and choose the parts of the process that you need. But we do go through everything from the electrode manufacturing, cylindrical and pouch cell assembly, and that is 21700 and 300 cylindrical and 300 by 100 pouch cell assembly, through to full-scale formation, aging, and testing. And then we also have a battery module and pack assembly, where cells that we've manufactured through the ISL can then be taken around the corner and built into modules and packs. UKBIC has developed 2 baseline cells designs, which can be used by customers to further develop and scale their own technologies. So if you've got an interesting new anode material that maybe you put some silicon in it and you want to see how it performs against a benchmark battery, we can put that material into one of our cells and show whether or not it gives you a performance benefit. So, additional capabilities that we've installed in UKBIC as a result of the previous funding that we had, which went alongside the flexible pilot line, are the battery development laboratory. Now, this gives UKBIC the ability to do some of the work which historically was done within the Faraday institution. So we can now make coin cells. We've got a lot more characterization and forensic and processing capability of early stage battery materials. We have clean and dry zones, which are commercially available for people who have a need to have a controlled conditions for equipment testing. So you can bring a manufacturing line that you've built that you don't have the ability to trial in a clean and dry environment. You can bring that to us for a period of time, and we will install it and run it, and you can come in and run it yourselves. Then we also have additional cell cycling capability for cycling cylindrical cells. We've got 192 channels for that. And then we have 96 channels for pouch cells. Now, that's my bit as an introduction. And I would now like to hand over to Adam, who will cover the bringing UKBIC's flexible pilot line to market. Over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for the introduction. So yeah, Andrew's alluded to the conversation that we'll be having today, notably around the flexible pilot line. What we'll go through in the next minutes is some information on the flexible pilot line, but we've also got inclusive to this presentation some videos, so you'll be able to see the line in its current state. So, 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so what is the flexible pilot line? So yeah, just to add to obviously what Andrew's already alluded to, the flexible pilot line is completely new to UKBIC. It's been a project since the back end of 2022. And obviously within that, we've had to realise a building, we've had to realise electrode capability at this stage to obviously go in that pocket in between university scale and the ISL line. It's a space where customers, unlike ISL, can do early optimization at very low scale. Obviously, customers in their infancy, it's a perfect space for them because they can come in with small quantities of material, and then we can obviously work with you to process these small quantities to a scale, to a usability that then would enable a customer to go elsewhere or to obviously go towards our ISL line. The beauty of the line compared to ISL and one of its main assets is that the main line has anode and cathode capability. However, we can only use water and NMP through our coating lines. So this flexible pilot line will enable the use of other solvents up to low flash points. So obviously we're in a better place to adhere to all types of customers. The environment which FPL is basically up to -40 dew point. So we have the ability to go to in -5 degree increments of dew point, but all of the zones within the flexible pilot line are dry, which is obviously good from materials handling perspective, those susceptible to moisture, and just to be aligned with the assembly line, which is in our instance also a dry area. And we've obviously, you'll see some presentations over the next few slides and videos, but we've focused on intellectual property. So yes, we can have one customer on the line. We can also have multiple customers on the line. They do not need to cross. We can quite confidently protect your IP and make sure you work independently in areas. Okay, so the next video which we're about to play is the FPL line all the way through. So I won't talk, but please obviously take it in and watch it. So we'll touch on that video in a minute in a bit more detail, but obviously you've seen the end-to-end current state. To be honest, it's about 2 weeks out on that video, but that was the status of the line. Obviously you can clearly see, as Andrew alluded to, it's in a commissioning phase at this stage. So to recap, obviously on what's been said and what I've alluded to early on, is the benefits of FPL are it offers the developers early access to battery manufacturing scale up. This scale is a lot smaller than ISL. It's obviously bigger than university scale institutions, quite local to here in Warwick Manufacturing Group, but it's definitely smaller than the ISL line, so it sits in a niche area for customers. The line is called the flexible pilot line for a reason. We've adopted many things which enable us to go between chemistries, to have flexibility within control systems, to have the ability to handle multiple solvents, multiple materials, anode and cathode capabilities, low flash points, etc. So the flexibility is there. The beauty of the line is it's smaller, so it will be lower quantities of material required for customers. It therefore comes with low cost efficiency and quick turnarounds. We can go between anode and cathode quite comfortably because the line is smaller. We can go between FPL and ISL should customers want to do that. We've got many vendors who are exactly the same in the FPL line as they are in the ISL line. So the scaling and the knowledge that we have between the two lines is greater in that respect. And UKBIC is now established 5 years. So we have a considerable pool of staff that have worked on many customer campaigns on the ISL line or within our laboratories or with other institutions, which means that we're flexible. We're not production necessarily in this instance, and therefore we can lean on the pool of staff that we have to try and help customers along their journey. So the FPL layout. So the FPL facility has grew since 2022. There's been a lot of pain along the journey, notably around the introduction of low flashpoint solvents, which has meant that we have to adhere quite strictly to ATEX rules and its connotations of space and of equipment. We have subsequently added to the portfolio of FPL, albeit in the future, assembly areas for pouch and cylindrical cells. But as we sit today, be it in use or in process, we are sitting on a 95-meter long facility, which is 11 meters in depth. We have dedicated mixing areas, which I'll go into some detail on in the forthcoming information. We have a coating and drying line, we have a calendaring line, we have a slitting line that are all available at UKBIC today. And then we have the future rooms which are being developed as we speak on UKBIC shop floor. These are for pouch assembly, for cylindrical assembly, and we're trying to grow the battery development laboratory to include a dry area so that we have the ability to make single layer pouch and coin cells. Another unique part of this facility is we will have a dedicated store area, so we can quite comfortably store work in progress material at -42 point without the issue of the expensive dehumidification. So we've obviously got dedicated dehums for those areas. So the first key process within the electrode manufacturing is mixing. UKBIC as we've shown on the previous slide, has 2 dedicated mixing areas in its facility. UKBIC as an ISL line has intensive mixing technology. So to adhere to that and for the scalability between us and the ISL line, we fortunately have the same, so we can maintain the story, the scalability of intensive mixing. The difference being at FPL scale, we can do from 15 to 40 litres. These 2 lines have the ability to do conventional solvents, but we also have the ability to, if required, use low flashpoint solvents as well. We can do from 15 to 40 litres. And we also have some smaller intensive mixing lines. These are part of an electrode process development area. The idea of this area is it's within the facility, but we can work with customers who don't necessarily understand intensive mixing technology. who maybe come into the business with planetary knowledge or other mixing technology knowledge. But obviously, to be able to work with us as a business, we need to convert those given recipes to stuff we can understand and process. Another area that we have in mixing is extrusion. So this is from company Bühler in Switzerland. We have the ability with extrusion to do slurries for those customers who want to do continuous mixing. But we also have, by having this process, the ability to start to think about dry battery electrode. Additional to the electrode process development area, we also have a coater. So the view is that we can start to process material without taking the capacity of any of the coater in the business through slot dies. The lines are semi-automated in some instances. We have dedicated areas for material weighing and dosing. We've got line side material qualification methodologies and processes in place, and we've got the ability to degas any slurry that we produce for DOE experimental analysis, or because we need to obviously make sure that we remove the air away from the coating process before it starts. The coating line, you'll see a video playing. I'll talk over the video. The video was the first processing of slurry that we did at UKBIC. You can see some anode continuous coating happening. This was probably over 2 months ago now, to be honest, so we're a bit more developed than this. But you can see some more visuals of the coater and the material. So we've subsequently switched to intermittent coating, which is more challenging, and we're obviously now processing anode and cathode as well at the same time. So the coater is a 6-meter dryer. It focuses itself on slot die technology. We also have the ability to do other forms of coating through knife and comma bar. We also have ready ceramic edge coating. So we've got flexibility at the coating stations to be able to coat slurries, to coat ceramics, to coat meshes, metallized polymers. We're adept to be flexible. As we said previously, we've got the ability to handle multiple solvents, so we're ready. We can handle it. We will have a permit in place which enables us to do that. We can coat up to 305 millimeters wide on a foil width of maximum 320. So it's smaller than our main line in its width, but the commonality is there for what we're trying to do. We can coat up to 6 meters per minute. We can focus on any particular pattern, which obviously then goes towards a cylindrical cell, a pouch cell, or other types of cells. We've got unique inline inspection systems. So the idea of this line is we want to focus on traceability for the customer. So we've hopefully foreseen gauges in the right places, which enable us to give you good data to understand the product, etc. And yes, you may think, why have we only got one coater? But we're quite confident in what we've done within FPL, that we've got the flexibility to go between chemistries quickly, and we have all the spares infrastructure in place to be able to do that. From a calendaring perspective, the image that you see on the slide is the calendar on the shop floor, albeit sort of pre-commissioning. So what's unique about the calendar? We've learned a lot at UKBIC about calendaring. It's not a simple process by any means. It's not just squashing stuff. It comes with a lot of challenges. So a lot of lessons learned has gone into the calendar design. We have some similarities to our ISL line in the fact that we can calendar at 150 degrees. We can use line loads up to 2.2 tons, but obviously this machine is smaller, so we can focus on smaller product. It's a smaller web path. We can use less material. We've worked with a vendor who firmly understands the industry. We've got heating technology in the right places to help the product, to take away any imperfections, to get the right level of heating in before we compress it. And we've also made sure that we inspect the product, because we are firmly aware that we introduce a level of defects through calendaring that we need to be mindful of before we obviously pass this material through to cell assembly or back to the customer. And like the coater, it is suitable for all types of patterns. The last machine in the electrode processing area of FPL is the slitter. The slitter is capable of running up to 80 meters per minute, so it outstrips any of the performance and line speeds of any of the kit that we have. But what we are able to do is go between anode and cathode independently, because we have cassettes. We have the changeover infrastructure to be able to do it. We've heavily focused on the cleanliness of the electrodes, so we've got adequate cleaning inline to be able to obviously take away the imperfections that cause as a result of slitting, like burrs, etc. And we can handle, unlike some of the other machines down the line, this machine is capable of handling wider widths. So the view is that we can also use this machine to slit foil, where we also have challenges in the business. Okay, so the next process or area is the BDL dry lab. So this is in the latter stages of its development. So this will be available probably within a month. The idea of this is, like I said before, it's an extension to BDL, but it enables those processes or critical processes for inspecting product or producing product at small scale to be done in a dry lab. So the idea is that this area allows for small scale material handling. We can do small scale mixing smaller than the FPL mixing lines. We can do drawdown coating. We can do calendaring. We can do the production of coin cells and pouch cells. We have some cell cycling equipment in here also, but the idea is that this enables FPL to do that early testing that the customer may need to support its campaigns. And then, yeah, we've spoken briefly about the future, and you've seen it on the layout that we will grow in 2026 to increase our ability of cell formats. So FPL will soon have pouch and cylindrical assembly, but what we will have is, rather than a fully automated line in the ISL, we'll have a semi-automated line wherein the product will pass between stations at very small quantities. And we will be able to extend the portfolio out to customers to include tablets 21700, 46XX range. So there's some flexibility in the 46XX, so 4095 through a level of upwards. And then we will be able to do the pouches that we can do today in ISL. So we have that scalability between the two, but we will focus more on small pouch formats. So again, if a customer wants to come in and use less material, they can produce smaller cells, and they can obviously also produce smaller cells in the dry laboratory area as well. So that's all of the areas of FPL covered in a nutshell. And just to recap, to hone in on the message, we're a small facility, we're flexible, we can obviously accept smaller quantities of material, but the view is we can take those small quantities of material and still get a good amount of electrode material out of the facility to be able to basically produce cells in-house, or for you to take back and use yourselves for your own electrode development or future cell assembly. That's it, Andrew. Back to you.
Thank you, Adam. So, yes, please. Yeah, we've got a number of questions that have come in. And I think if we start to go through those, do we have the calendaring system lower limits knowledge? Are there any thickness limitations?
So we can control the, sorry, Andrew, microphone. We can control the calendar gap mechanically. The rolls are flat, so there's no bombage or profile on them. We know, and we have tested products that have been 50 GSM, so quite thin film foils, thin film electrodes. We can go down to 50 microns roughly. We know, we've proven it, we've tested it. Okay, and we can go up, and we've tested up to 360 GSM, but we know we can go thicker because we can control the gap. So that's the answer to that one. Okay,
and then next one, similar vein, IHA system in the calendar.
I'd need some elaboration on IHA.
Okay, so MK, if you could elaborate what you actually mean by IHA, that would be great.
Yeah.
And then MK has been very active. Can you handle hydrogen formation from silicon water-based anode mixing process?
No, so FPL will not be able, it'll be able to qualify hydrogen formation, and that's why we have the EPDA area, but none of our equipment is specified to handle hydrogen release.
Okay, thank you. Next question, is the video of the FPL on YouTube, or can we have a link to it, please? It is available on the website, on the ukbic.co.uk website, so you will be able to see it there. And then the next one, can we please repeat the cylindrical cell dimension? Is it flexible? Well, it's a 21700. This question was being asked in relation to the industrial scale-up line. The industrial scale-up line has a limitation to 21700, but as Adam said, in the flexible pilot line, we do have some flexibility beyond that. And then the question also asks, what about prismatic cells? We don't currently have a prismatic cell manufacturing capability in UKBIC. It may happen in the next couple of years. It all depends on whether the funding is made available and whether there is a belief that the prismatic line at UKBIC would add value to the industry. What I would say is, though, that from a module and pack point of view, we can assemble modules and packs from prismatic cells, and we can also cycle prismatic cells. We just can't currently manufacture them. I think I've answered that. Yeah, it was, yeah. So there's no current plan to assemble prismatic cells, but watch this space. Okay, next question. Are all casts flexible? If not, would it work on the rollers? Not quite sure what that means. No. Justin, if you could reach out to us after the webinar on one of the email addresses that we gave you, and ask your question, because we're not quite sure what you mean by that one. So Justin, Jose, if you could maybe reach out to us after the webinar for that one. Okay, next one. What levels of yield or scrap rate do you get on electrode coating?
So it's in the early stages. Obviously, UKBIC, as Andrew said, has our own products, which we're using to commission the kit. The beauty of the FPL line compared to ISL line is it is smaller. It can be stopped. It can be recovered easily. So the idea is, if we were struggling on coating with a product, we can essentially stop and start quite quickly without burning too much material. So across the board, our yield should be greater. We know we will be better than our ISL line. The target at the moment from a commissioning perspective is that we work towards around 70 to 80% yield, and then obviously we'll get better over time, but it will purely depend on how much knowledge the customer has of their own slurry, so that we can help them in the mixing stage to scale up to coating so that we can get to better yields.
Okay, so next question, induction heating system on the coating foil margins that help to reduce waves?
Yes, okay, makes sense now. Yeah, so we've got induction heating, and we've got IR as well. So the idea of the calendar is, compared to our ISL calendars, there's basically induction and IR that we can move from the edge of the product to the middle of the product. We can have that before the calendar, we can have that after the calendar, so it's movable technology. And then what we have in the web path is that before you get to the calendar nip, we have an S-wrap angle. So we're basically getting uniform heating across the electrode before we compress it. Additional to that, we've got a cooling roller, because yeah, your question is very prudent of the problems that you see on a calendar. We know, and that's why we focused on making sure that product is relaxed as much as it can be before it goes back to the converting equipment. Hopefully that answers the question.
Right, okay, next question. With the 15 litre minimum mixer, what will be a typical anode and cathode minimum mass needed for a mix at this scale?
So we're currently doing 15 litres on a particular project. We're focusing around 50% and 76% solid content. Obviously, the mixer has its own loading requirement because of the mechanical build of the equipment, but the 15 litre mixers are probably around the order of about 40 kilos loading with the solvent and dry mass split. And we've found that it's had good results. The reason why it's 40 litres, just to add to that, sorry, with the IRIC technology is obviously it's only effective at certain filling levels, because if you go too less or too much, you don't get the shear, and the filling level surpasses the agitation tools, which are obviously responsible for turning the product into a slurry.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Adam. Okay, next one. With regard to cylindrical cells, have you already defined the supply of winding, assembly and filling machines for the electrolytes? Do you see any challenges in this area? I think the answer to that is yes. We have already defined that. We have that equipment installed, and it will be being installed in the flexible pilot line next year, but we have already defined what that's going to be.
Yeah, the manufacturers for both of those projects is defined. They're both turnkey solutions, one out of Europe, one out of Asia, and they're part of the scope of supplies of those vendors.
When is the flexible pilot line fully commissioned and available for customer trials?
We're in the process now of commissioning. We will be working through commissioning for the remains of this month, the remains of next month, and then the view is that as we head into September, we should be starting to accept customer campaigns.
Are there any more? Okay, another one. With a single-sided electrode produced in FPL, how can you develop and verify the calendaring process? Uneven compression problem.
Yeah, so the reference to single-sided was in the ISL line. UKBIC is one of not many places I know that has the ability to do double-sided coating, hence the reference to single-sided. We won't ever produce this just single-sided. So it's just that the fact is that before the dryer, we can produce single-sided coating only. We will pass that product back to the unwinder, and then we'll coat the other side. So the only product that the calendar will ever see is double-sided. Yeah.
Okay, any more? Don't think so. I think we've got one question that was asked beforehand, which was, what impact do you envisage the flexible pilot line having on the UK battery manufacturing landscape? Okay, so the flexible pilot line will be play a pivotal role in accelerating innovation within the battery manufacturing sector. It really moves the game on for us. It really gives us the ability to engage with organisations who are at an early stage in their development, who are ready to manufacture batteries and electrode at a scale that's bigger than they can get from a university pilot line, but requiring less material and therefore less scrap and higher yield than they would get from using the industrial scale-up line. So it really is helping to bridge the gap between university pilot line and gigascale manufacturing. Prior to the flexible pilot line, we were trying to cross that bridge in one big step. Now we have an intermediate step that opens us up to much wider customers who are looking to scale but aren't quite ready for the gigascale. Oh, Sorry, another question. Is your organisation only cell orientated, or do we consult on PAC or EDMs? We certainly do consult on PACs and EDMs. We not only that, we actually have the facility to manufacture them. So typically our module and PAC programs commence with us doing design for manufacturer, design for assembly studies, doing PFMEAs, working with the customer to develop the work instructions for the modular pack, selection of the materials that are required, and then providing a facility where we can actually produce packs and modules in low volumes. The facility is really based around process development rather than volume manufacturing, but it is preparing organizations to move on to volume manufacturing in their own facility. But yes, module and pack is a very fundamentally important part of the UKBIC offering. Any more for any more? I think we're pretty much at the end of the questions, and we're pretty much out of time as well. So that's been a really good session, and thank you very much all of you who've asked questions. They've been extremely useful in helping the development of the knowledge of the attendees for this webinar. So next webinar will be on the 17th of September. It will be presented by my business development colleague Richard Lockwood, and it will be a webinar looking at working across the battery manufacturing value chain. So please sign up for that, and we look forward to seeing you at that event. Oh, hang on, I've got another question. Could we specify a pack dimension that are currently for 21,700 but moving to pouch? We have, oh, hello Ed, I met you a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, let's have a separate conversation about that. We will, 21,700s moving to pouch isn't something that generally happens. Organisations that we deal with are generally decided on one or the other based on the packaging that's required for the module or the pack. We don't generally see people taking 21,700s out and moving and putting a pouch in. Okay, so I think that brings the session to a close. Again, thank you for all of you who have attended. We've still got quite a few of you who stayed with us right to the end, so I presume that you found it really useful and interesting, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event. Thank you very much.
Thank you.